And we are back with part 2 of my amazing conversation with Kristen Maldonado. She reviews movies, TV, all kinds of amazing things on her channel, and she is so much fun to watch and converse with. So definitely go check her out. But without further ado, here's the rest of our huge conversation about Charmed Season 2.
You know what I do think, though, that sometimes in the episodes, especially this season, that there's a little bit of wasted time. Like sometimes there's moments where I'm like, we could have had a lot more happen in this episode that, you know, with other characters versus focusing on this one thing that went very slowly. Just my thoughts. But like,
I noticed too that they have been spending time spelling things out for us. It's like the Mel thing. We can watch the show and we can see that she feels defeated and that she's searching and she's desperate to try and find some sort of semblance of power and to get her powers back. Like we can see that. But then like they spent a whole scene of Mel telling Maggie that that's how she feels. And I'm like, show don't tell. Like, and you already did a good job showing and not telling, so don't tell us.
But not even just that, then they also spent another whole scene of her being a bug, also telling herself that in the mirror. So like, you know, choose one, not all of them, you know?
Yeah,
her doing
exactly.
She just went in front of the mirror and was like, oh, I need to have an epiphany right now. Epiphany. Okay, I did it. I'm a person again. Like that's an example to me of something that I feel like this season has been doing that I don't really enjoy.
Yeah, it was like telegraphed, and it's been telegraphed this whole time. And also it was weird because the thing that she like went to the mirror and said like, I'm okay if I don't have powers and all, like she said that, but if I recall, like she kind of said that the episode before that. So it wasn't even like it was a new idea to her. It was just like, no, you already know. Why? Who's writing this?
Yeah.
It's like,
no, I agree.
But anyway, I guess we need to get to the elephant in the room, which is Hacy.
Oh. We
have to discuss Hacy, or Dark Hacy. DeHacy is what I call it here on my channel here.
I ship DeHacy.
I do. Now, DeHacy, not Hacy, though, or...
I think DeHacy.
I think DeHacy, right? Yeah.
That's what I think too.
Well, because here's we have to figure out, because they're not going super deep into, you know, what's going on and like how everything works in terms of magic. But like the fact that Dark Harry has similar feelings to Light Harry means they're sharing some sort of mind. Or like maybe when he was in a bottle, he could see everything that Harry did. You know, I guess it's Harry and Jimmy, I think is what we're going with. I'd say Dark Harry, but it's Jimmy.
Like Dark Harry, but
but like I think there's obviously some sort of interesting psychic connection, because otherwise, why would they both have, you know, feelings for, you know, Macy? But I think also Macy might be attracted to Jimmy because of the demon side of her. You know what I mean? I think it's that's also kind of pulling her in that direction. I like the idea of it as well. And there were a few episodes where the writers did a really good job of convincing us that it was Hacy. And it was just like, oh no. Oh, okay. No, it's because she's actually in love with Dark Harry and not Harry. And when that became obvious to Harry, I loved, like, the actor did an amazing job acting that scene out. And just his facial expressions were just like, oh, I don't know how to feel about this.
Now, but do you think she really doesn't like Harry that way? Because I wasn't sure if it was clear, but I personally felt like she liked Dark Harry because he's sort of this misunderstood kind of character, sort of like my favorite episode of season 1, the Medusa episode, where she really connected with Medusa and was able to see the good side of her, even though she was doing things that everyone thought was bad. Oh, yeah. So my whole thought was, okay, first of all, I think the scene with Dark Harry basically, you know, explaining who he is and how he wants to be free and all this stuff really like sold me. Like that was the minute I was like, wow, do I like Dark Harry better than Harry? Like that one scene had so much more. It's the same guy playing the role, but that one scene had so much more like depth and complexity, which is what I want to see in the show. And I was like, Dark Harry's not a bad guy. He's just trying to become free, and he wants to like find love, and he wants to like be able to live his own life. And that's the kind of character that I love, when there's a character that's seen as the villain, but really they're not a bad person. They're doing things and people are just not seeing their side, you know? So it's easy to be like, oh, Dark Harry's bad. And it's like, well, what did he really do that was bad? I mean, he did hurt people, but like the people that we thought he hurt, he actually didn't. That was all Abigail. So actually, did he hurt anybody?
I mean, only Harry. And I think he had good reason to do so. So
I don't even think Dark Harry's actually hurt anybody besides, you know, I guess he also was the one that got the arrow in Macy's leg, but like I don't think he actually has killed anyone. It turned out that was all Abigail, which I don't know if they like really explained that very clearly, but
they didn't.
That was all her trying to like make it look like someone was after the Charmed Ones. And I think that Dark Harry's actually a good guy that's misunderstood and wants to be free. And I could see why Macy would be drawn to that kind of person. And I ship them, and I hope that he gets what he wants. You know?
I hope so too. I will also state for the record that the fact that they stabbed Dark Harry and he turned into smoke, and they were like, well, I guess he's gone for good. And I'm like, why would you think that? Why would you think that? You stabbed Harry at the beginning. The same thing happened to Harry, and he came back. So why would we think the same thing wouldn't happen to Dark Harry? Anyway, that was just very annoying. I had to say it out loud.
When that happened, I was like, wait a minute, he can't really be dead. But also, when you really think about it, every single person that they supposedly defeated this season, they didn't.
Yeah.
Dark Harry's still around. Parker's still around. The dad who we haven't actually met, you know, is still around. So like literally, so that makes me just think, you know, yes, we learned about magic and dark lighters and white lighters and some history stuff, but really, what has happened if everyone that we thought we defeated is still alive? You know, sure, if you do it once, that's interesting, but they did it like 3 times already. This in 8 episodes, that it's like, I don't understand why we're just using the same plot device over and over again. Is everyone just going to come together at, you know, maybe the next episode, literally all of them will just like bum rush the Charmed Ones and kill them, and then it's over. Like,
hey, I mean, it's not like Abigail doesn't know where the secret hideout is. If anybody watches Riverdale, like they're into like their 4th secret sibling storyline. Like this person had a secret brother, that one had a secret sister. It's just like, oh gosh, like most people can keep track of their kids. You know, it's like
but there's a bit of a campiness, right, to Riverdale.
True.
I feel like it's like a very campy show. I feel like maybe the first season of this show was a little bit more campy-ish, but this season doesn't feel very campy. So
yeah, the tone is very different.
Very
to the point where they really should not be doing these kind of campy things. I agree completely with that.
I mean, if we're going to do a campy show, I love a campy show, but this doesn't feel like it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm totally behind Hacy. And I think it's going to work out well. And I think, honestly, the whole thing with both Harry and Dark Harry, I understand both sides of that conflict. And I think that the writers are doing a service to that character by spending so much time on Harry and Dark Harry. And I'm totally happy to kind of push Mel to the side so that we can get more of that, honestly. Because if I was this person, and we can't even hate Harry, because this was done to him too, that he didn't even know. So it's like, we can't even be mad at him. It's not like he was, you know, hey, I did this and like, I was happy that they, you know, took half of me and put it in a bottle. Which, by the way, just shelves of bottles just seem so weird to me. Like, and they've just been sitting there for centuries, just these glass bottles in a temple. I don't know. It's just weird.
Lock them up in a big container or something.
Yeah, like a vault or something. Yeah. Or put them in like magic, like Hellraiser boxes or something. And then there's no way to like get out of that. But no, just glass bottles that if somebody like nudged the shelf, it might fall and let a dark lighter out. It's like, wait, what? But no, it's like, so you can't even be mad at Harry because he's now trying to come to grips with all of this too. He's like, wait, I'm only half a person.
Like, that's like a deep thing to like realize, like, I am a shell of a human.
And this person, he's trying to kill me and take my life. Like, that's the thing, right? It's like, and take my girl. Exactly. So it's like Dark Harry's like, this was supposed to be my life. And Harry's like, no, you can't have my life. So like, I understand that struggle, and it makes a lot of sense thematically, and it fits the mood, this darker tone of this season. And I think that that's probably their most successful storyline that they've had this season so far.
I agree with that. Now, do you think that Dark Harry and Harry will combine at some point and become one guy?
So, yes. I think that is most likely what will happen. That's not what I would want to happen. I think it would be really cool if they just allowed Dark Harry to just be like, oh, so I can just peace out? Oh, okay, cool. I'll see you never. Bye. I'm just going to go have my own life. Yeah. Like, I think that would be pretty interesting. What could also be interesting is if maybe Harry dies at some point, betrayed by Abigail, who he is now bumping uglies with. So if something like that happened and Harry got killed, that would like obligate Dark Harry to come and now be their white lighter, but their dark lighter, but not really their white. And I think that would add like an interesting flavor, I think, to the show.
I wonder though, like, how do you kill either of them? Like right now, just stabbing them does not work, obviously.
Yeah. Probably magic.
Oh, we don't have a lot of that right now. So
no, we don't. You're correct. I'm sure there's something in the Book of Elders, though, because the Book of Elders has like everything. Yeah. So and if there's nothing about how to make a white lighter in the Book of Elders, then they wrote that book incorrectly. Yeah. You have to keep that recipe somewhere. It seems to make sense in that book.
Now, my other thought, which probably won't happen, but I think could be really interesting, is what if, like, I think this would work more if we were seeing Macy struggling with her demon side a lot more, but they kind of dropped that and it's just like easy for her now. But if she was struggling with her demon side and they had to like, if they were somehow able to like separate her witch/human side with her demon side, then the demon Macy could go with Dark Harry and they could like be those people that are like, we're gone, but also we're your allies if like you really needed something, like, a couple seasons down the road. Like, I think that would be really cool, because then Dark Harry and Macy, Demon Macy, could be together, and then maybe Harry and regular Macy could be
I dig that a lot. It's almost, it's 10th Doctor. It's a little bit like the 10th Doctor. I could see that working pretty darn well, actually. That could be pretty nice.
Write our own. we should just write our own charm.
All right, we're going to start writing charmed fan fiction here. It's going to But I could see that working pretty well as too, and it could be a spin-off show. Ooh, that could be cool. It could work. I don't know. I think we've done a bunch of predictions. Do we have any like real predictions for the rest of this season? I know we've done a lot of speculation and like that would be cool. This would be cool. What do we think is actually going to happen?
What is actually going to happen? I mean, I feel like obviously we have to see the sisters come together more at some point. So I think that's going to happen. Maybe we'll get to see some kind of like big revelation and see the sisters like reunite and like really form a little bit more of a bond. I'm hoping that one of these people that we thought would be killed off at this point, like Parker or Dark Harry, or so, I hope that somebody actually stays dead for them, just so that they can move on to the next mission and not have to just keep being like, oh, he's back again.
Yeah.
I hope also that we get to learn more about their family and their family's history in magic, because, the teaser for this new season had them supposedly coming face to face with with Maggie and Mel's dad. Although, I mean, it's really just Mel's dad. But
I was going to say, but it's actually only Mel's dad, right? It's so weird. Well, I mean, and I'm trying to figure out actually how that works, because like, so Marisol had Macy, and then got with another dude, and then that dude is Mel and Maggie's dad, but then the other dude came back and they had Maggie. It just seems it would be different if it was like the oldest and the middle were of the same dad, or the middle and the youngest were of the same dad, but the oldest and the youngest with the middle being a different, like that's what's messing with me here of like, wait, what?
Someone, it was like the guy was there, someone else came in when, he had to leave. And then I guess they tried to stay in touch based off the letters that we saw last season.
Right,
and then they like actually met up again, and that's how Maggie was born. So it's like very crazy. But and I wonder, like, there has been theories about the dad. Like, is it really a demon disguised as him? Is it really like? I think what could be realistic, especially if they want to stick with like a more realistic-ish kind of story, is maybe that guy. I think they mentioned before that he's like did a lot of gambling. Maybe he faked his own death to get out of like death or something, and then they happened to run across him.
So wait, but their dad though is the one that like left when they were younger and like barely kept in touch and all that stuff, right? Like, so he's just been gone for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that they like, he's the kind of guy that like, they were going to see him for Christmas. I remember in the episode last season, but then he didn't come. So I think it's one of those, like, he sort of keeps in touch a little bit, but like not really. And then he doesn't show
but remember though, like, but then Maggie was like, and I always got letters from him, and Mel was like, no, I wrote those. So so like technically, I think really he is just like a deadbeat dad. But I just realized now, having this discussion, I just realized if they're playing into normal TV tropes, their dad is the demon overlord.
Well, but if he was, then wouldn't they have to be demons? Like how?
Well, maybe he became a demon after the fact. And that's why he had to leave, maybe? I don't know.
It would be interesting. But I've heard other people saying like, oh, maybe he is a demon. Maybe he's a white lighter. Maybe he's a whatever. But I'm like, but then they would have to be half whatever.
Then they would have to. Yeah.
And then they're not.
Well, I mean, my whole thing is like, so, because like necromancers, right? You're not like necromancy is like forbidden and all that stuff. But like, if you look back at the first season, you look at the episode where they called up a necromancer to save Macy's life. It was just like, hey, call up a necromancer. Okay, I will. You see so it's like, it couldn't be just that easy generally, unless one of them had connections to demons. That's
wasn't it Macy who it was Macy who did a spell that brought the necromancer?
Yes. Like
Macy has the demon.
That's true. She did find that spell that actually kind of yoinked that necromancer like right out of what she was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like to have a hold of forbidden spells makes me think that there was some shadiness going on somewhere in there. That's just my thought. But maybe they won't play in the tropes, and it won't be he won't be the demon overlord. But that's what it would be if it fell into every other TV trap, So
there's just something about it that for me, I feel like it would be kind of refreshing if it turned out that he was just like a bumbling dude that like got in with the wrong crowd and faked his death because he had a lot of gambling debts, and then he's just like, I mean, we don't know. The thing is, we don't know anything about this guy other than that he's a guy who's kind of a deadbeat dad. We've never seen him before. To me, I think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. I don't think that he needed to be like a big major character. But even if we had gotten like a flashback of him, like how we got a flashback of Macy's dad, that guy didn't have a big role either. But just to kind of give us a little bit of like, oh, this is what that guy looks like, or so that it feels more impactful when we're like, oh my God, he's really alive. Because they introduced us to this guy, and I'm like, who is that? And then they were like, Dad, and I'm like, wait, what?
Well, and I think too, that's just part of this. Like, I would have loved to dive more into Macy's upbringing. Because, like, that's one of the things. It's like we know all about how Maggie and Mel were raised, but we know absolutely nothing about Macy's childhood and where she grew up and like who were her parents and all that stuff. And like we met her dad briefly, but like literally I could stand to know a whole lot more about Macy and like her life. But again, it's like they're probably like, well, her life outside of that means nothing. It's, she was basically an orphan. It's just like, but like all of that has so much bearing on who she is as a person.
Yeah. And so I don't want to compare, but I do think that that's something that the original show did super well. It's just give us that history and that background.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's because, oh, well, it's charm. That's why you're like, oh, I want to see more family. I want to see more sisterhood. I want to see whatever. I think it's just that this is the kind of show that makes you interested.
Yeah.
That makes people, like Charmed is the type of franchise that like people get invested. They want to talk about it every week. Even though this is different characters, like look at the fandoms around the show that have all these theories and stuff. That's why I think this is the kind of show that like they should dive into like more of the background of the family and the history of like, like I would love to see flashbacks. I want to know more because I feel like then it helps me get to know them more. And I just think this is that kind of show that people want to see that. One thing that I thought was really interesting that I wonder if they'll bring up, kind of related to that is in the first season, in the Book of Shadows, we saw that Melinda Warren, who was like an ancestor of the original Charmed ones, was in their Book of Shadows. Obviously, she's connected to their family as well. Like there was,
I think I missed that.
Oh, there was at least 2 different times where they kind of showed the book, even in the first episode, where they showed the book and they were on the Melinda Warren page. And I was like, that's so cool. So the original Melinda Warren in the original series was a person who was related to the Halliwells. She was kind of like the beginning of their family line.
Yeah.
And she had been killed during the Salem witch trials because one of, her former lover like gave her up as a witch.
Okay.
So why I feel this is relevant is because in this season, we see Harry kind of open up that big box when he's with the white lighter that he meets. And we see that there are papers to the Salem witch trials, and how around that time when the Salem witch trials happened is when they created white lighters. So my thought is like, will we get to go back to any of that? Do we think that maybe there is a connection there where like the reason white lighters existed and that they formed them back in the Salem witch trials times were because of things that happened, like what happened to Melinda Warren, where like women were being burned at the stake. So like, is there some kind of connection there?
That makes perfect sense. I mean, and that is one thing that we are learning with this season is we're learning how they made white lighters, but not why they made white lighters. So I would love, I would like to see that. I would love for them to delve more into that with the rest of the season. And I think they've set themselves up to do that as well. I think it's because they've been spending so much time going deep into how they make white lighters and Harry and Dark Harry and all that stuff. I think it's like just coming right back in the next episode. It's the perfect time for them to like do some flashbacks. They could even do some time travel. I would love to see that.
I would love to see them either time travel or even just show us flashbacks of like the Salem witch time. And maybe we'll get to meet like ancestors of theirs or something. Like maybe we won't, but that would be something that I think would be really cool if they did. Especially because like, why bring up the Salem witch stuff when it connects to all of these different things? Yeah.
Gosh, that's such a good one. I think my prediction for what's going to happen, I think obviously we're going to find out who the demon overlord is. I think it's going to actually be somebody else. And that's the thing too. Again, they're throwing a lot of stuff at us, and like our brain is being the human brain that it is, and it's making connections where possibly there are no connections. And I think that the demon overlord is different than the overlord that brought Jimmy back. I think it was 2 different people, and I think Abigail is actually responsible for bringing Jimmy back. I feel like she is the one who actually is behind that, because if you look at like the apartment and everything that he was staying in, opulence, which is how Abigail kind of like she operates that way. She's rich, and she doesn't stay in crappy places. Like it's always like very expensive looking places. So she might have put him up there. I think that might be part of the long con there, that she probably released the Dark Lighter out to then go and mess with the Charmed ones, because she had every intention of going and messing with the Charmed ones because they had just killed her family. So I think it all links back to her. So I feel like we're going to find out that she was the one who destroyed all the Dark Lighters and let Jimmy out to go and murder them all. I think that's what's going to happen.
Interesting. Can I add one thing?
Of course.
So, something that I noticed that I thought was really interesting were two scenes where we sort of got hints of what I believe were the Master and the Demon Overlord. So there was a scene it was the episode where the girls went to the demon nightclub and they infiltrated that.
The nightclub, right.
Where at the end, there was a person with a gloved hand talking to, is his name Godric?
Yes, the lieutenant. Yeah, his name's Godric, right.
Talking to Godric, and we don't obviously hear that person's voice, but Godric says, "You were right, the charmed ones are back, and or they're not dead." And that was like right around the time in that episode was when Godric was the one being like, "Oh, I'm telling you what to do because the Overlord told me," and then Macy's like, "I'm the Overlord." And so to me, because he was saying that, I was like under the impression that was the Demon Overlord, that was the real Demon Overlord.
Yeah.
And my thought is like, what if he's helping the real Demon Overlord, but letting like Abigail and Parker think that they're doing whatever, but really he's serving the real person. And then the other thing was when we see how Dark Harry actually came out of the bottle and how he's on the ground and there was someone there with a glove on, another person, the same kind of glove. That person is who we were told is the Master because they let him out. So is that the same person? Like they both were a person with just a glove on. So that makes me wonder, like,
that is interesting. I don't know. And honestly, while you were talking, I was like, what would be a really demon-y way to be? Would be for Godric to be the Demon Overlord.
I mean,
because that even makes even more sense because a Demon Overlord is likely going to rule from the shadows. It's going to prop up some sort of puppet that becomes the target. But of course, Godric's the one making all of the decisions. Like he was the one that killed all the Dryads. Parker didn't even know. So it's just stuff like that. Oh man, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So many great possibilities.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that speaks to the power of the show. I know that we just spent like an hour, like griping about all the stuff that we don't like about the show. But you know what? It keeps us coming back every week. Definitely. There's a lot of potential here for some really, really good storytelling and some great episodes and some great seasons to come. Because again, they were just renewed for season 3. So, I mean, there's just so much potential here for this to be an amazing show, and hopefully the writers will watch this and they'll just get a ton of ideas, and then me and you will meet up again and we'll just be like, see, they stole all our ideas.
No, they'll give us a job. They'll be like, oh, that was great. You want to write with us? We'll be like, okay.
I do some screenwriting, so I'm just going to put that out there. Just, if you want to hire me to write for Charmed, I totally will. I definitely want to say thank you to you, Kristen. Thank you for coming and being on the Turnout and talking Charmed with me. And this was an amazing time. You've opened my eyes up to so many different things that have already happened in the show.
You too.
Oh man. And this has been such a fun conversation. So, but thank you for coming on, and make sure everybody goes and checks out Kristen's channel. Don't forget to do that. You go check out her channel. And otherwise, I've been your host, Eloy. Thanks for coming to the Turnout. Thanks for showing up. So once again, I just want to give a quick shout out to Kristen and say thank you so much for coming onto the channel. I kind of talked over her a little bit at the end, but there are links in the description. Definitely go check out her channel. Go check out all of the stuff that she does. She does so many amazing things. And if you liked this collaboration that I did with Kristen Maldonado, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, so you always know when the Turnout releases a new video. Otherwise, I've been your host, Eloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up.